Thank you so much for joining us for CBN NewsWatch AM. From Graham. Ahead today, we begin with another tragedy in America. The deadly school shooting in Texas, 19 children and 2 adults killed, leaving a small town in mourning and asking for prayer.
My heart was broken today for a small community, and we'll need your prayers to get us through this.
Now investigators are trying to find out why the 18-year-old gunman attacked an elementary school. A big win for the governor of Georgia in the Republican primary Tuesday, defeating a candidate endorsed by former President Donald Trump.
There were a lot of people that said I wouldn't beat the incumbent state senator, but I knew better.
Now Kemp heads for a rematch with Democratic candidate Stacey Abrams. And former football star Herschel Walker won the Republican nomination to run for the Senate. A plot to kill former President George W. Bush from an Iraqi man who moved to the United States. We'll tell you why and how he planned to use the open southern border as part of his plan. And fleeing from the wildfires in New Mexico.
I was going to pick up my daughter from school, and when I got there was no smoke, and within 15 minutes, I saw houses on fire.
We'll also see how this disaster led to a ministry response across the nation, thanks to pastors who've held a weekly prayer meeting for years. All those stories and more ahead from the CBN Newsroom.
This is CBN NewsWatch.
We begin in Texas, where a community is grieving the loss of its most vulnerable today after a gunman attacked an elementary school, killing 19 students and 2 teachers. As the community gathers around families in support, there are stories of heroic action by teachers and police. Charlene Aaron has our report.
Shock and grief gripped the community of Uvalde, Texas, after the mass killings at Robb Elementary School. Overnight, families gathered at a civic center, waiting and hoping to hear their children are safe. This was the scene outside the school Tuesday night as a line of hearses waited to carry off the victims killed just days before the end of the school year. The death toll, 19 students in grades 2 through 4 and 2 teachers murdered when an 18-year-old shooter opened fire inside the school. Authorities say he was wearing body armor and carrying several guns.
It's believed that he abandoned his vehicle and entered into the Robb Elementary School in Uvalde with a handgun, and he may have also had a rifle.
Stories of heroism emerging, including 4th grade teacher Eva Morales, who reportedly died trying to protect her students, and a Border Patrol agent who is said to have rushed to the scene and into the school without backup and killed the shooter. One student describing the horror of what happened.
We just hear all kinds of gunshots going off, like nonstop, like constantly gunshots. And then we're over here all scared on the ground, fearing for our lives.
Hours after the attack, families were still awaiting word about their children.
How long will you wait?
I'm going to wait all I can, I'm concerned.
It's the deadliest school shooting since the Sandy Hook tragedy that killed 26. President Biden addressed the nation last night, offering his condolences, quoting scripture and offering prayer.
May the Lord be near the brokenhearted and save those crushed in spirit, because they're going to need a lot of help, a lot of our prayers.
He also urged lawmakers to take action now to prevent the next mass shooting attack.
It's time to turn this pain into action. As a nation, we have to ask, when in God's name are we going to stand up to the gun lobby? When in God's name we do what we all know in our gut needs to be done?
The violence coming less than 2 weeks after 10 people were killed in Buffalo. The FBI reporting 212 mass shootings in the U.S. in the first 144 days of this year. Christian leaders took to social media to ask for prayers for families of the victims in Uvalde. Texas pastor John Hagee, whose San Antonio church is about 85 miles away from the school, tweeted, "There are no words to express the heartache of today's loss of precious innocent lives. Our prayer is that the God of all comfort will wrap his healing hands around the broken hearts and shattered lives of these parents and family members." In the aftermath of this shooting, there are growing calls for more law enforcement in public schools, as well as mental health counselors. Charlene Aaron, CBN News.
Investigators say before heading to the school, Ramos shot his grandmother. She is reportedly being treated at an area hospital. As for the battle over gun control, it is likely to face a difficult battle in Congress. Want to turn now to the major political primaries in the South Tuesday. As expected, incumbent Georgia Republican Governor Brian Kemp easily won the nomination to run for re-election, defeating his challenger David Perdue, who was supported by former President Donald Trump.
There were a lot of people that said I wouldn't beat the incumbent state senator, but I knew better.
Former President Trump supported Perdue after Kemp refused to go along with Trump's claims that the 2020 presidential vote in Georgia was stolen. Kemp will now face Democratic candidate Stacey Abrams, who he beat in the 2018 governor's race. Perdue said he will support Kemp, and former college and NFL star Herschel Walker won the Republican nomination to run for the Senate seat in Georgia. At his victory celebration, an emotional Walker first asked for prayer for the people of Texas before thanking the people of Georgia and the Lord.
And thank you, Georgia. First, I'd like to acknowledge my Lord and Savior Jesus Christ, who inspired me to go on this journey. He's my GM, my coach, and my quarterback. And he's been with me every step of the way. And he's been with me many, many, many times. And God is good, isn't he? Yeah.
Walker will face incumbent Democrat Senator Raphael Warnock, and in Arkansas, former Trump White House Press Secretary Sarah Huckabee won the Republican nomination to run for governor.
It is such an incredible journey that we have been on for the last year and a half. And the people in this room are the ones that got us here. And it is beyond overwhelming to know so many people from so many places far and wide have come here to be here and celebrate this moment.
Some key races in other states still have not been decided. One major problem for Democrats in this year's midterms will be President Biden's sinking popularity. The president's approval rating has hit a new low, that is according to the Reuters Ipsos poll, falling to just 36%. That survey found 59% disapprove of his job performance. Some Democratic candidates have avoided appearing with Biden as the high rate of inflation has deeply hurt his approval numbers. Those low numbers are a sign that Democrats are likely to lose at least the House of Representatives in this fall's elections, and possibly the Senate as well. An Iraqi man who came to the United States 2 years ago and applied for asylum developed a plot to assassinate former President George W. Bush in retaliation for casualties during the Iraq War. 52-year-old Shahab Ahmed Shahab of Ohio also schemed to smuggle other Iraqis into the U.S. from Mexico to help to carry out the plot against the former president. They would have been smuggled back out through Mexico afterwards. That is according to a criminal complaint filed in federal court in Columbus, Ohio. The complaint also said Shihab told a confidential informant he and others wanted to kill Bush because they felt he was responsible for killing many Iraqis and breaking apart the entire country of Iraq. Freddie Ford, the chief of staff at the 75-year-old former president's office, said in a statement, quote, President Bush has all the confidence in the world in the United States Secret Service and our law enforcement and intelligence communities. Shahab insinuated he had contacts with ISIS, but it did not appear the plot came close to materializing. Top administrative leaders for the Southern Baptist Convention say they will release a secret list of hundreds of pastors and other church-affiliated personnel accused of sexual abuse. An attorney for the SBC's executive committee announced the decision during a virtual meeting, which had been called in response to a scathing investigative report detailing how the committee mishandled allegations of sexual abuse and stonewalled numerous survivors. The committee expects to release the list Thursday. In many cases, the alleged abusers remained in ministry.
Abuse is one of the most underreported crimes, and so I think there's many more that we've yet to hear about.
During the meeting, top leaders and several committee members promised to work toward changing the culture of the denomination and to listen more attentively to survivors' voices and their stories. Coming up, they fled with nothing but the clothes on their backs. Victims of the New Mexico wildfires share their harrowing stories and meet the heroes who are helping them. We'll have their stories when we come back. A mega drought out west has jump-started the 2022 wildfire season. Flames already consumed more than 1 million acres in New Mexico and other states. One mountain town has lost more than 200 homes. Heather Sells shows us how area churches have come together to support the victims.
At one point, winds from the McBride fire gusted to 80 miles an hour. That left precious little time for Ruidoso residents to seek safety.
We literally left with clothes on our backs. We had nothing but that.
I was going to pick up my daughter from school, and when I got there, there was no smoke, and within 15 minutes, I saw houses on fire.
The winds were some of the worst that we've seen up here.
The fire forced Pastor Todd Solons, his family, and thousands of others to evacuate. Some 200 families, like James Paxton and his wife, lost their homes.
The quick-moving fire simply gutted some neighborhoods like this one, where a dozen or so homes are simply gone.
The disaster also led to a ministry response citywide, thanks to pastors who've held weekly prayer meetings for years.
We have come to know each other and trust each other.
In the early chaotic moments, those connections led to quick, easy communication and effective outreach.
Because we have that trust, everybody just kind of gets in our lane.
Duncan and other members of Gateway Church initially focused on getting the most vulnerable out of harm's way, including one man who was sleeping.
He's 90 years old, and he did not know there was a fire.
Later, they collected clothing and water for fire victims. Community United Methodist opened its doors to evacuees.
It's just making sure that people had the basic necessities, a place to stay, a place to eat, and a place to stay safe.
Solons opened First Baptist Ruidoso to hundreds of disaster relief volunteers. Their focus, cleaning up properties destroyed by the fire.
To even know where to begin is just overwhelming to people. And so that's just a basic need that we can come in and help them begin to get their footing.
The trained volunteers come from states near and far and help those who've lost most or all of their possessions. They sift through ash for prized items, clear all manner of debris, then cut and haul away charred trees.
The ministry here goes beyond clearing debris and trees. It is also about sharing Christ with those who are open to it.
And I see that love softening hearts, for the gospel. And so people are getting real tender. People are tender right now.
Since the fire, more than a dozen have given their lives to the Lord. Those serving here say moments of great need often lead to new understanding.
And they will suddenly realize that maybe they're not in the level of control that they might have thought they were. And so sometimes when you're flat on your back, the only way you can look is up. And so they are open to discussions about spiritual matters.
Even though he lost his home, James Paxton, a longtime disaster relief volunteer, says he wants to give back and has cleared debris along with other volunteers.
We're out here not just picking up ash and other things, but trying to show people what God's love is.
A spirit of unity exists here, as well as a spirit of thankfulness, as many realize what could have happened.
We could have lost thousands if the wind would have been a different direction. And just the gratitude that we have here, right? I mean, I have 3 people in my church that the fire got up to their doorsteps.
There will no doubt be more communities this year going through a similar experience. More than half of the country's lower 48 states are in drought, according to the U.S. Drought Monitor. That will likely pave the way for an extended fire season and potentially other natural disasters. In Ruidoso, the pastors are already preparing for flooding.
When you get a half an inch or an inch of rain in a canyon that won't soak in and it's just coming downhill, it's going to be a challenge.
If the bond among the churches here is any indication, Ruidoso is ready.
The community of Christ here is united. We try our best to work together. It's not us versus other churches, it's us working together for the good news of gospel.
Reporting in Ruidoso, New Mexico, Heather Sells, CBN News.
Still ahead, a bit of a change of pace as we take you behind the scenes of a new fun family film. It's called Family Camp. We're going to hear from the stars about their movie right after this. Welcome back to CBN NewsWatch. Right now, we're taking you behind the scenes of the new fun family film, Family Camp. It stars Tommy Woodard and Eddie James, who've been best friends since high school. But perhaps you know them best as the Skit Guys. Take a look.
We started off by performing skits for our youth group, then other churches. Eventually, we had the opportunity to perform for audiences around the world.
When did you recognize the power of what you do?
That's a great question.
We've also had the privilege for over 20 years to make short films for churches. Maybe you've seen us at your church.
I remember we did something for a bunch of youth, like 1,000 youth students. And it really was that thing. Like, we did our thing and we walked off and students started standing up and giving us a standing ovation. I remember that going, oh, maybe what we're saying is speaking to them, to that generation.
At that point you went, well, it was just a skit, but you realized God took it and did something with it, you know?
We've gone from the small screens at your church to the big screen beginning May 13th with a movie called Family Camp.
How do we go from skits to a feature film?
Only God. You can see how short-sighted we were to call ourselves skit guys, to go, well, we'll just always do skits, you know? But God had a bigger plan in mind. It was the greatest dream we always wanted.
Very humbling, very okay. You know, Luke 12:48, to much is given, much is expected. You know, you feel that weight. Or what Spider-Man's uncle said, with great power comes great responsibility.
I should have known better than to trust you. You have no idea where we are.
Get that thing away from me! Tell me about your respective characters in the film.
My character is Tommy Ackerman. He would be, I think, your average church dude. I mean, goes to church occasionally when he's not playing golf, you know? And he gets conned by his wife into going to this family camp that he doesn't want to go to.
You ask our family, it's the greatest place on earth.
I'm sorry, I was late. Again? What do I gotta do to make it up to you?
How about we go to that camp? My character is that guy at church that is the first guy to go, hey, where's the gang going for lunch? And you're like, oh, he's not part of our gang. You know what?
Stop, not another word.
Oh!
How close are each of you to your character?
I don't get invited to lunch a lot.
What a realization.
Oh my goodness.
Here's my card.
Intergalactic chiropractic.
Buckle up, everybody.
My character is so busy. He's busier than God intended him to be. And so while he may have some good intentions, he's missing out on a lot. And I think all of us can relate to being too busy.
See, life can pull you in many different directions if you let it. But real talk, it's pretty easy to get lost if you don't have a guide.
Family camp is a great roller coaster. You get to get in the roller coaster, and there's going to be ups and downs. There's going to be humor. There's going to be heart. There's going to be things that tug at your heartstrings. Maybe tear up a little bit. Where like, are you crying? No, I'm not crying. You know, and it's going to point you to God. Laughter breaks down walls for truth to enter.
Yeah.
So if you can get someone to laugh, they'll listen to you, but you have to have something good to say. And so we try to point them to the creator of the universe.
That was fun. That was something.
You're welcome.
Family Camp will be available on DVD, digital, and video on demand beginning June 28th. For more uplifting entertainment news, be sure to catch an all-new Studio 5 tonight. Filmmaker and preacher Devon Franklin will join us with a new audiobook titled It Takes a Woman. Cartoonist Johnny Christmas shares a new graphic novel called Swim Team. And we have your Studio 5 first look at the long-awaited Top Gun Maverick. You can catch Studio 5 on the CBN News Channel beginning at 8:30 Eastern this evening. You can also find it on the CBN News app. We'll be right back with your Wednesday Word. Stay with us. Time Time now for your Wednesday word, and today's word is seek. I encourage you to make time to seek after God. The reward for the seeker is the glory of God. So seek after him. Silence the noise and make time and room to see and hear his heart. With that word, I encourage you to make this a wonderful Wednesday, and be sure to have yourself a wonderful rest of the week. That is going to do it for this edition of CBN NewsWatch. Remember, you can always find more of our programs on the CBN News Channel. You can find them there at any time, as well as online at cbnnews.com. We'd love to know what you think about the stories you've seen. You can let us know by emailing us. The address is right there at the bottom of your screen, newswatch@cbn.com. And of course, you can always reach out and touch us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. We certainly would love to hear from you. Again, I encourage you to make today a wonderful Wednesday and come right back here and see us again tomorrow. Goodbye. God bless.